Good day and greetings from the Great White North. My name is Prickly Boo and welcome to day 228 of a year of change. Today, I know that we normally do food stuff, but the past couple of weeks we've sort of been all over the place, so I don't have any snacks for you today. Sorry. Bye. No, I don't have anything new today. I was going to do, I have a couple of things in mind that I want to do, but just sort of wanted to talk today about what we've been doing over the past week and a half. And this is sort of going to be food related, so it may not be too far off the beaten path. Basically, I've noticed that over the past week and a half, where I've been really paying attention to like my fat levels, trying to keep that around 30%, and focusing on sodium and sugar especially. Sodium especially. Anyway, where we've been spending the past week and a half or so really paying attention to those three things and sort of tweaking our food and checking it day by day, I found that it is influencing what I'm eating during the run of the day. Yesterday, for example, remind me to tell you about the coffee thing. Yesterday, when I completely lost my train of thought already. Yesterday, yes, there we go. I've been going back to having just a regular breakfast, having shreddies and some oats to the side, sort of mixed all in together actually, and trying to get away from the great big breakfast that I had been having for a bit, and just having that on a regular basis and sort of getting into a routine that way. And as I'm checking my levels throughout the day, it's influencing the decisions I'm making as to what to eat, and especially near the end of the day when I sort of go through and go, my numbers aren't where they need to be. So yesterday, for example, I went through, everything was fine. Fat levels were where they were supposed to be. Sodium was well below. It was like just barely over 1,000 milligrams for the day, which is unheard of for me. And then my sugar levels were well below where they need to be as well, because of the coffee. Remind me again to tell you about that. So by the end of the day, though, I was looking at everything and I had gone through, I had had my coffee, I had had my breakfast, and I had lunch as well. And so when I'm looking at it, I'm thinking, before I came home, I thought, I'm going to have some supper tonight. I had no idea what I was going to have. But when I went through and took a look, I noticed that my carbohydrate levels were way above where they should be, and my protein was really, really low. This doesn't mean that I say, okay, well, obviously I can't have any potatoes, and I need to go eat tofu and all this other stuff. All that I did, I just sort of tweaked it and went, you know what, I know I have eggs at home. I know they have protein in them, and that's good enough. I'm going to have some eggs when I go home. And it's not that I'm forcing myself to eat horrible foods or anything like that. It's just that it's going to influence if I have that rather than coming home and having a sandwich of something. So, and again, we haven't really gotten into the carbohydrates thing yet, but eventually we will. But I find that it has been helping, and that I'm sort of a little more in tune with what I should be eating during the run of the day. And I've noticed that it's made me feel better as well. Even a couple of weeks ago when I had my rough week where I gained, I found that doing the treadmill was really rough. I was sort of struggling to get through it. By the end of it, I was exhausted and just waiting for those last few seconds to tick down, and then immediately just stopping and going, ugh, just horrible. And I found that this week, starting last week actually, but especially this week, that as I'm going through, I have much more energy. I feel better. I feel good while I'm doing it. And when it's done, I could keep on going. So I know I keep saying I might start doing this on the weekend, because I don't actually run on the weekends. I don't run during the week either. I jog for 1 minute out of every 10. Well, it's at the 10-minute mark I jog for a minute. But I don't really do my treadmill on the weekends, and I really should, because I think that getting out of that routine of getting up and getting ready and recording and doing the treadmill and then going to work and all this stuff during the week has sort of kept me on track much more than on the weekend when I have nothing to do. So, but getting to the coffee thing. I tried yesterday for the very first time. This is why my sugar levels are so low. I tried for the first time not having any sugar in my coffee. And I've been sort of avoiding doing that because I wasn't ever a really big fan of the flavor of coffee. I always found it to be way too bitter. And when I first started, and I've said this before, when I first started drinking coffee, I used to get 3 cream and 5 sugar, which is just syrup. It's just chocolatey coffee flavored ice cream is basically what it was. Melted coffee flavored ice cream. So over the years, I mean, that's back when I was drinking lots and lots of pop and sugary, iced tea or sweet tea or whatever you want to call it. So I didn't drink a lot of water. As I've gradually sort of gone to a point where I'm drinking more water than anything else, and I rarely have pop. It's, I thought, I've sort of been cutting back more and more and more to a point where a couple of weeks ago I went down to 3 cream and 1 sugar. And the problem with having that, the difference between the 1 sugar and the no sugar is almost non-existent, because usually if you go and you get a coffee made, if you ask for 1 sugar, it's never really the same unless they're measuring it out in a packet. But let's face it, the majority of places that you're going, they're just grabbing a spoonful and going whoop and throwing it in. So you either get way, way too much or you don't get any at all. So rather than have it fluctuate back and forth that way, I thought I'm just going to try 3 cream, and that's it. Because the cream is always measured out, whether it's the little packets. Very few places just dump cream in. So I tried that, and it tasted almost identical to the 3 cream, 1 sugar. So there we go. I don't take sugar in my coffee anymore. Yay! Throughout the day, of course, there's a coffee machine at work, and there are the little packets that they have sugar in them. So I did have it with those, but even cutting back that one little bit, like that's an extra teaspoon of sugar per day, even if I'm just buying it once. But where I drink so much coffee, which I know isn't bad, it isn't good for me, but just cutting back on that amount of sugar is going to help. And eventually you can cut back Eventually you can cut back more. Eventually I can cut back more and more and more, and get to a point where ideally I'm just having, just regular coffee instead of adding in like the hot chocolate and the coffee and everything else, because coffee at work is not great. You do need a little something in it. So, that's an improvement as well. So that's what I'm sort of going on. So it's going to help. So, looking at my sugar levels that way, it did cut back a little bit. It's only really 1 sugar, but knowing that I can now continue on with that does help. And it's the little stuff like that I've noticed that, whether this is because I'm eating smaller portions and getting back on track to what I should be doing and tracking everything methodically and looking at my levels and saying, okay, well, this isn't where it needs to be and I should have more of this and I should have less of this. Whether it's that or whether it's just the mindset that because I'm doing this that I'm going to feel better. It could all be in my head. It could all be just something that's psychosomatic and saying, yes, you're feeling better because you think you're feeling better. Either way, it doesn't matter. It's working. I feel better this week than I did last week, and I feel better than I did the week before that. So I'm hoping I'm going to be able to keep on doing this and keep tracking the way that I have been tracking. And I think that us taking this couple of weeks off, that didn't make any sense at all, did it? Taking these 2 weeks off, the fortnight, taking a couple of weeks to really step back, focus, and really sort of not have to worry about adding anything new to the mix, and just focusing in on our salt and our sugar and our fat and just getting those in a good balance. This 2-week period is going to be very, very helpful. It has been for me anyway, and I'm hoping that it's been that way for you, where you've been able to sort of go in and not worry about adding extra stuff in there and, new topics and all the other things, just little things that you can say, okay, good enough. I'm going to focus on this for 2 weeks. Get to where we need to be, and then we have a nice sort of springboard from when we can start in on carbohydrates and fiber and stuff like that, which is not going to be 4 weeks, which are not going to be. My grammar is all fucked up. It's not going to be 4 weeks for each one. That was a little too long, I think, for what we were trying to do. So I'm probably going to narrow it down to maybe a couple of weeks for each one, so that, we aren't really going to be focusing the same way that we were on the bad stuff. With carbohydrates, we know, that we need it. It's not something that you're going to say, well, you need to cut out carbs. No, you don't. You're fine. Your body needs it because there's sugar that's in there, and it's going to be a much slower release than just dumping in a handful of jujubes or, fizzy drinks and stuff like that. So we do need those. So you need to keep those balanced. They should be around half your diet. And then balance that in with the fat, and then we'll look at protein, which we know that we need because it helps build muscle and all the other good stuff. And then we're adding in fiber because it helps you poop. All the good stuff that we need, and sort of cleans everything out. We have talked about fiber a little bit when we did the grape tomatoes a long time ago. But we're going to sort of focus in on stuff like that. But it's more of an information thing. it's not really going to be changing our diet all that much, because probably by now we're eating so many fruits and vegetables and stuff like that that you probably are getting enough fiber. And same thing with carbohydrates. We sort of balance those things out, so we aren't just eating nonstop, chips and French fries and all the other stuff that is just going to be dumping all the carbs in there. And so your diet is probably fairly even. If you go through into MyFitnessPal and take a look at the carbs and fat and protein, they're probably not doing too bad. But anyway, like the egg thing, keeping an eye on that and saying, okay, well, I'm gonna have something that I, not really to say, well, I need 12 grams of protein to finish off the day. Just know that I'm going to tip a little more on the side of protein than carbs, so I won't have the rice. I'll just have some eggs, and it'll be good. And I find that I feel better if I'm having a really light meal at night instead of like having my heavy meal at night. My breakfast now is fairly calorie dense because I have like a cup of shreddies, and then throw in a couple of handfuls of oats, like half a cup, and then probably a piece of fruit or something. So, and then everything all in together, they're very dense in calories, but it lasts a very long time. I'll have that like 7 or 8 in the morning, and that'll take me through until 1 or 2 in the afternoon, or later sometimes. So it's usually around 500 calories, which is pretty big to start the day off with, but it's been working. I feel better. I have been taking a few sneak peeks throughout the week as well, and I am making progress that way. And I know I shouldn't be doing that, but I'm just, now once you start seeing the numbers start going down, even if it's a 0.2 pound difference, and you think, all right, I'm doing something right. I'm on the right track. So I think this has been very, very helpful. So I know this isn't exactly like a snack related thing, but where we've gotten away from a lot of the junk food type snacks and leaning more towards healthier stuff, then I think, that's contributing to it as well. And especially now where we're taking some time to really look at our sugar and our salt and all the other stuff, that it was a good time to bring it up. Not exactly food related, but somewhat food related. But we're going to be all over the place for this week, so it's okay. And then we'll sort of get back into the groove of things. Anyway, let's see. So did eggs, coffee? I think that's it. I can't think of anything else. I know I'm missing something. Anyway, yeah. I'm going to keep on going the way that I've been going. I think it's working out well. And I will get back to getting some interesting food and snacks and something different. I did try some. I just remembered something. I was going to give it away, but I won't, because we did that with pomegranates, and you probably already looked it up. But we might do that as well. Anyway, just for fun. But for right now, I'm going to leave this video here. So thank you very much for watching. If you liked it, please poke the like button for me. And in the meantime, keep yourself warm and fuzzy, and I will see you in the next video. Bye-bye.